Hello and welcome to the Dot Connector on iconic.com. Well, just before I sat down to record this, I saw this statement from Israel. Iran's attacks are a war crime. Israel's defense minister has called Iran's attacks a war crime and vowed to hold Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, Iran's supreme leader, accountable for his crimes. Israel Katz also said that he had instructed Israel's military to intensify attacks in order to undermine the Ayatollah's regime. The cowardly Iranian dictator sits in the depths of the fortified bunker and fires aimed shots at hospitals. There's been a hospital hit this morning as I speak, which is obviously a terrible thing. But here's Katz of Israel saying these are war crimes of the most serious kind. Okay, and Khamenei will be held accountable for his crimes. This is the guy with the Netanyahu regime who has been bombarding Gaza with bombs day after day and killed tens of thousands of civilians and kids. And it seems to me there is a necessity for these people and so-called leaders around the world to have cognitive dissonance. It seems to be something you must have, where you can not at any point see your own hypocrisy and how you're condemning what you're actually doing and worse. And so here we are in this situation now where Israel has been targeting Iran. Iran has been responding in kind. And Trump is apparently, if you believe the media, on the brink of possibly getting the United States openly and directly involved. And this will be more by the time you see this, but apparently the strikes on Iran have wounded 1,329 people and killed at least 639, and dozens have died in Israel. And the madness of the human race, or those directing it, goes on deeper and deeper into insanity. Now, what's happened in America is the MAGA base of Trump has become divided over this. You've got the zealots, oh yes, bomb Iran, and you've got the others who are saying, actually, we didn't vote for this. And so maybe, just maybe, that might encourage Trump to think a bit, because he's got to get through the next, 3.5 years or so, given the fact that he will lose enormous numbers of his base if he goes ahead with this. And the other thing, if he does join the war, openly, because he's involved now in the background, is how will China and Russia respond to that? Because if they start coming in openly on the side of Iran, then, we'll see where that will lead. Let's hope that that doesn't happen, but we must be vigilant on the fact that it might. So the thing about grasping what's going on is to understand that these world leaders are not answerable or answering to their electorate, to their populations. They answer to what I call the global cult. Now, some will knowingly be doing that, and others will simply be reacting to events and situations that the cult has made happen. Either way, the cult is controlling what they do and how they respond. So Netanyahu is not answering to the Israeli people. He's not doing this for the benefit of Israelis. He's doing it on behalf of this global cult that operates through all these different countries. Borders are for public consumption only. And it has an agenda to push the world towards global dystopia. And his masters are in the shadows directing this. Now, over the Atlantic in America, Trump is the same. Trump is answering to masters, the same masters that Netanyahu is being controlled by. And it will be the same in all these different areas of the world, especially those that are at the forefront of dictating the direction of the world. And if we don't understand that they're not answering to the population, but to this cult, then we'll lose the plot about what's actually going on. When you've got people like the MAGA saying, why is Trump going against his base? Because he's not answerable to them. They were just the vehicle to get him elected. He answers to the shadow people. It's theater. And because he no longer has to win another election, there's even more reluctance or contempt, if you like, for his base, because in terms of elections, he don't need them anymore. And the plan has obviously been, and by the way, talking about this cult, you have people like the leader of Turkey, Erdogan, condemning Israel and telling his base supporters what they want to hear. That's what they do. Trump told the MAGA what they wanted to hear, and they got him in. And yet, Turkey is supporting in various ways what Israel is doing, not least through opening their airspace, but more than that. because they answer to the cult. Erdogan answers to the cult, not the Turkish people, just as Netanyahu and Trump does. And clearly, the plan has been to target Iran. And Netanyahu has been desperately trying to bring that about for decades, which is why what he's saying now about Iran having a nuclear weapon shortly and oh my God, is what he's been saying word for word, basically, for decades. Here's the receipts.
The deadline for attaining this goal is getting extremely close. And Iran, by the way, is also outpacing Iraq in the development of ballistic missile systems that they hope will reach the eastern seaboard of the United States within 15 years. By next spring, at most, by next summer, at current enrichment rates, they will have finished the medium enrichment and move on to the final stage. From there, it's only a few months, possibly a few weeks, before they get enough enriched uranium for the first bomb. The foremost sponsor of global terrorism could be weeks away from having enough enriched uranium for an entire arsenal of nuclear weapons. That would place a militant Islamic terror regime weeks away from having the fissile material for an entire arsenal of nuclear bombs.
If not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months, less than a year.
Why? How can anyone continue to take this guy seriously when he's been lying decade after decade after decade, trying to bring about what is happening now? How is he taken seriously within the system? Because the cult has got his back and he's serving the cult agenda. And, you know, if you want to transform society, you have to destroy the status quo of the society that is already there. Now, this cult has built this system that we live in, but it wants to move it to an even more extreme level, the Great Reset, with AI basically running everything. So the status quo, the system as it is, has to go. And what we're seeing with Netanyahu and with Trump is the dismantling of the current order to demolish it so it can be replaced by the Great Reset system of AI dystopia. And so what's happening in Iran is part of this dismantling, this upheaval. What Trump is doing with the tariffs, creating economic mayhem, is all part of it. The way he's setting precedents to use the military for domestic law enforcement, all part of this transformation towards this dystopia by dismantling the status quo that exists now. So they're working hard to sell the nightmare. And here's more lies from the psychopath Netanyahu, one after the other.
These people who chant death to America,
tried to assassinate President Trump twice, killed 241 of your Marines in Beirut, killed and injured thousands of American soldiers in Afghanistan and Iraq, tried to bomb a restaurant in Washington, D.C., chant death to America, burn the American flag. Do you want these people to have nuclear weapons and the means to deliver them to your cities? Of course not.
Yeah.
So we're defending ourselves, but we're also defending the world.
I want to talk about the nuclear threat, and I want to talk about President Trump. You just said Iran tried to assassinate President Trump twice. Do you have intel that the assassination attempts on President Trump were directly from Iran?
Through proxies, yes. Through their intel, yes. They want to kill him. Look, he's enemy number one. He's a decisive leader. He never took the path that others took to try to bargain with him in a way that is weak, giving them basically a pathway to enrich uranium, which means a pathway to the bomb, padding it with billions and billions of dollars. He took up this fake agreement and basically tore it up. He killed Qasem Soleimani. He said, made it very clear, including now, you cannot have a nuclear weapon, which means you cannot enrich. He's been very forceful. So for them, he's enemy number one.
Yeah.
Look, they also tried to kill me, but I'm his junior partner.
When did
they understand that President Trump is a great threat to Iran's plans to weaponize nuclear weapons and use them. American pilots are shooting down drones that are headed towards Israel, as do our pilots. American THAAD missile batteries are helping defend Tel Aviv and greater Tel Aviv area. American Aegis ships are in the Mediterranean. That's all a decision by President Trump, which I deeply appreciate. Again, his decisions on what to do at any given time is the president's decision. I trust his judgment completely.
Netanyahu is Trump's junior partner. I bloody love it. They both lie for a living. It's what they do. And Trump will tell you whatever you want to hear so that you will respond in the way he wants. And once you've responded that way, and in this case, got him back in, well, he couldn't care less anymore about what you think. Because the deal, the job, is done. And here's a cracker. This is only last October when this American imam went onto a podium at a Trump rally and said, Muslims support Trump because he's going to bring peace, not war. I kid you not.
Good afternoon, Michiganders. As the president said, we just had a positive meeting with President Trump. We as Muslims stand with President Trump because he promises peace. He promises peace, not war. We are supporting Donald Trump because he promised to end war in the Middle East and Ukraine. The bloodshed has to stop all over the world, and I think this man can make that happen. I personally believe that God saved his life twice for a reason. I believe personally that God has saved his life for a reason, which is to save the lives of others.
What is staggering to me is how easily people, the MAGA media, fell for Trump when a modicum of research into his background, into his character, would have told you what he really is. And the MAGA media, hacks and sycophants, all cheering him and urging people to vote for him, to put him in office, to become what he is to this cult, like Netanyahu, a wrecking ball, to bring down the status quo so another can take its place. And so we've had the MAGA media, people like Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, Alex Jones, Russell Brand, Candace Owens, Ian Carroll, Benny Johnson, Tim Pool, on and on it goes, who didn't seem to realize that Trump was laughing at them. When they was, oh, yeah, vote for Trump, he's the savior. He's laughing at you. You're just a vehicle to get him over the line so he can do what he's been designated to do by this cult. And what they're finding now, well, I say what they're finding now, what you've got in this MAGA media, the influencers, are some who are going, hold on, what's happening? And others who are just doubling down. And those doubling down in support of Trump, they're fine. No problem. But if you are pushing back in any way on what he's doing, very, very different situation. And so this was Tucker Carlson, for example, this week. Now, Tucker Carlson played a major role in getting Trump elected. All those big rallies, thousands of people around the country. Russell Brand was at a couple of them, and the Trump children, etc., pushing Trump for president. But to be fair to Carlson, he is now saying, hold on a minute, that wasn't meant to include a war with Iran or a war with anybody. And, well, you saw immediately what happens, no matter how much you have aided him to get into the presidency, how quickly, how immediately you are cut off by Trump. And this is what Trump had a problem with, Tucker Carlson not being in favor of the US going into yet another war.
I actually really love Trump. I think he's a deeply humane, kind person. And I am saying this because I'm really afraid that my country's going to be further weakened by this. I think we're going to see the end of American empire, obviously. Other nations would like to see that, and this is a perfect way to scuttle the USS America on the shoals of Iran. But it's also going to end, I believe, Trump's presidency and effectively end it. And so that's why I'm saying this.
What do you mean by that? That's coming from you. That's
you get. Look, I knew Bush. I knew George W. Bush. We had, family connections to Bush. I knew Bush personally. I still see Bush sometimes, and of course, he hates me, and he does because I criticized him on Iraq, and that war is the sum total, from a historical perspective, of his administration. But I knew him, and he had all kinds of plans for the things that he wanted to do. But once domestically, right, to improve the country.
Right.
And you may agree or disagree, but like in his mind, he wasn't just about the invasion of Iraq in March of 2000.
Oh, no. He was going to redo Social Security.
100%,
He had all types of. He was going to take care of the entitlements issue.
And he really thought it was going to work.
Yep.
And you could laugh at that or whatever, but the point is, the second you get enmeshed in a real war, not a fake, let's go bomb the villagers and declare success, though we don't even have a good track record, like, why are the Houthis still there?
No,
I mean,
it's
there's a whole other question,
right.
which is how prepared is the U.S. military for a real conflict? And the answer is totally unprepared. Scary unprepared. I don't think people understand that. But anyway, the only reason I'm saying any of this is because I really, really care.
Well, a few things to that. Firstly, the opening remarks about Trump being humane. I mean, please, Tucker, just look at the background to this guy. And then we had the end of the American empire he talked about if the US openly attacks Iran. Well, why is there an American empire? Why was there ever a British empire? Why does any country have empires? And then Boy George Bush had plans to improve the country. What? He was owned by Dick Cheney, his vice president, president in truth, and by Father George Bush. And Cheney and Father Bush, both owned by the cult. It's just incredible how uninformed these people that put themselves forward as MAGA influencers and in the know, how uninformed they are about what's actually going on and why. Anyway, Carlson had criticized God, and God weren't having it. No matter if Carlson played a major role in getting him elected, Trump didn't care because he was elected now. What do I care about Tucker Carlson? And we saw that with this post by Trump in response to what Carlson said. He called Carlson cookie at the bottom post here. And this was Trump's reaction when asked about Carlson's criticism.
Carlson criticizing you, saying that you were complicit in the war.
I don't know what Tucker Carlson is saying. Let him go get a television network and say it so that people listen.
And quickly, have you spoken to Zelensky before your bylaws?
Yeah, a lot of them.
Japan?
A lot of them. Could happen.
Could happen?
Japanese, sir. Well,
Trump is a playground bully and deeply insecure, which he covers up with his bombast. And I'm reminded of Michael Wolff, Trump biographer, who's known and studied Trump for a long time, who makes the point that Trump has never really passed the age of 13. And he's like a baby in a pram. If he doesn't get everything that he wants, or anyone could criticize him, then the dollies get thrown in all directions. He's president of the United States. So then we come to Tulsi Gabbard. She's Trump's director of national intelligence. And she said only in March that during congressional hearings, that Iran, according to the American intelligence community, was not building a nuclear weapon. But all these people are Trump's props. And while they're telling him what he wants to hear, your God always helps, then it's fine. But when you say something out of line, seriously not fine. Anyway, this is Gabbard, only in March.
The IC continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003. The IC continues to monitor closely if Tehran decides to reauthorize its nuclear weapons program.
Fair enough, you might think. But it was the wrong message. It wasn't in line with what Trump and his masters wanted to hear. And so Trump brushes off US intel reports on Iran to align himself with Israel. As he rushed back to Washington on Tuesday morning, Donald Trump swatted aside the assessment from the official, Gabbard, that he handpicked to deliver him information from 18 US intelligence agencies. Quote, speaking of Gabbard, "I don't care what she said," said Trump. "I think they were very close to having one, i.e. Iran, and a nuclear weapon." So Trump's assessment, this story says, aligned him with Benjamin Netanyahu, you don't say. The Israeli Prime Minister, who has warned that Iran's imminent plans, tell you what it's like. You know, during COVID, you had the variant of the variant. Well, now you've got the imminent of the imminent. Oh, dear. Anyway, Benjamin Netanyahu says that Iran's imminent plans to produce nuclear weapons required a preemptive strike from Israel, and he hopes from the United States, in order to shut down the Iranian uranium enrichment program for good. And Gabbard sold her soul, to be honest, by joining this Trump mob. Gabbard sought to tamp down, never heard that before, tamp down, on a schism with Trump, telling CNN that Trump was saying the same that I said in my annual threat assessment back in March. But as the Trump administration, this is what happens when you don't tell him what he wants to hear. But as the Trump administration now appears closer than ever before to a strike on Iran, Gabbard has been left out of key decision-making discussions, and her assessments that Iran is not close to a nuclear breakout has become decidedly inconvenient for an administration now mulling over a preemptive strike. See, what these people haven't learned, the MAGA media and people in the Trump administration, is that they're only there to kiss his backside. That's their job. And as long as they do it, that's okay. And some people, like in the MAGA media, have understood this. Not least the super sycophant MAGA influencer called Benny Johnson. He knows how it's done. He knows what's necessary. So amid the bombing in Iran and Israel this week, he posted as an apparent statement about Trump's approval rating that he posted this: "Old Benny knows how it's done, and he's quite happy to do it." Benny Johnson is followed by ridiculous numbers of people to simply, daily, hourly promote this psychopath in the Oval Office. How they sleep at night, like babies probably. but I've no idea. So by great contrast, I want to give a call out to the American comedian Dave Smith. Now, he supported Trump in the election, but is now demanding that he be impeached and removed for betraying his supporters and for, well, not doing what he said he would do. Now, some of us did warn about that and got endless abuse because of it. But unlike others in the MAGA media who were trying to ignore the fact that they urged people to support Trump, Dave Smith is not trying to ignore that. He's apologized for it and spoken out from a position, therefore, of credibility, having acknowledged that he was had by the Trump illusion. This is what he said.
It was in 2007 that the Pentagon told George W. Bush that we cannot go to war with Iran because we do not have escalation dominance against them, essentially meaning that they can hit all of our bases and embassies in the region, and we are very vulnerable to them. And we've already seen demonstrated since the Israeli attack that the Iranian, the missiles that they sent last year toward Israel, as many of us guessed, that wasn't really their best. They were intentionally making an attack that wouldn't really hurt anybody, that wouldn't really lead to a war, which Iran has done over and over again. But now we've pushed them to the point where they probably don't feel that they have the option not to respond. And Donald Trump telling them to come back to the negotiating table now is a joke.
Yeah.
I mean, what a impotent leader to be sitting there talking about coming back to the negotiating table. It's like sitting after Pearl Harbor and telling FDR, now's the time to go negotiate with the Japanese.
Right.
Negotiations are over now. The time for negotiations was before this. And so, yeah, Donald Trump looks, and man, I supported him this last year. I apologize for doing so. It was a bad calculation. At the time, it seemed like the right one. But he should be impeached and removed for this one, and not on some not on some ridiculous Nancy Pelosi. Of course, the Congress will never do it because they're all a bunch of corrupt hacks.
This is the one thing they support. This is
Donald Trump should be impeached and removed for this. All of his supporters should turn on him. It's the absolute betrayal of everything that he ran and campaigned on and everything that he stood for. And I will say, despite the fact that, Donald Trump supporters have been labeled like a cult following, and that certainly is true for a percentage of his supporters, he is going to lose his coalition over this. I don't just speak for myself when I say there are a lot of us who simply will not go along with this. So it's just a devastating mistake. By the way, on top of that, he's also going to lose the deportation fight because of this. Because right now he needed all the political capital he could have to turn that, you got a majority support for deportations, but the minority is very mobilized and they're out and they're protesting all around the country. He needed all of his political capital for that move. So here's what we got. The neocons win. More war abroad and, bomb the world and invite the world. No matter who you vote for, you always get John McCain.
Good on you, mate, for having the guts to say you were had and rolling back on it. So now we have elements of the MAGA media who said, vote for Trump, he's the savior, who are now claiming to be leading the charge against what their hero is doing. And among them is Alex Jones. Alex Jones actually said at one point that Trump is being tricked by Netanyahu. He's not being tricked. He's just owned by the same masters, mate. And so Alex Jones is pushing back on this US involvement in Iran, but he's still on board with the Trump agenda. In fact, he says it's possible to be against war and still support Trump. No, it's not, mate. Not unless you've got cognitive dissonance. Because they're not two separate things. They're the same thing. Supporting a Trump agenda that is willing to go so far off what it said it stood for So what else is he going to do? That is nothing like what he said he would make happen, what he would stand for. The guy's lying to you. Wake the heck up. While we still can. And Alex, like I say, is still on board. And I saw this post this week where he's talking about the No Kings protests around America. Millions of people turned out. And okay, you might not agree with all of them. You might not agree with many of them. But the basis of what they're saying is we don't want a king, dictator in America, is exactly what the MAGA used to stand for and the alternative media used to stand for. For it was hijacked by these people. And this is what Alex Jones posted. Notice anything about this crowd of No Kings protesters. They are all old white boomers that think they still have power over everyone else. They are the past. We, the people, are the future. Well, actually, older people are the people. And one or two things. Trump is a baby boomer. Do you not know? The No Kings protesters were not all older people. They were the great spectrum of society, millions and millions of them. Older people have a right to an opinion. And if Trump's backside kissers are the future, then we're in real bloody trouble. But to be fair to Tucker Carlson, he is pushing back on this involvement in Iran. Good on him, I say. And he did in this debate with the senator, terrifying senator, Ted Cruz, highlight the absolute vacuous nature of the ruling classes. Cruz is all for what's happening in Iran, even though he knows nothing about the place.
How many people live in Iran, by the way?
I don't know the population.
At all?
No, I don't know the population.
You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple?
How many people live in Iran?
92 million.
Okay. Yeah,
How could you not know that?
I don't sit around memorizing population tables.
Well, it's kind of relevant because you're calling for the overthrow of the government.
Why is it relevant whether it's 90 million or 80 million or 100 million? Why is that relevant?
Because if you don't know anything about the country...
I didn't say I don't know anything about
Okay, what's the ethnic mix of Iran?
They are Persians and predominantly Shia. Okay, this is cute.
It's not
okay.
even... You don't know anything about Iran. So
okay,
actually,
I am not the Tucker Carlson expert on Iran.
You're a senator who's calling for the overthrow of the government.
You're the one who
don't know anything about the country.
No, you don't know anything about the country. You're the one who claims they're not trying to murder Donald Trump. You're the one who can't figure out if it was a good idea to kill General Soleimani, and you said it was bad.
You don't believe they're trying to murder Trump.
Yes, I do.
Because you're not calling for military strikes against them in retaliation. And if you really believe that...
We're carrying out military strikes today.
You said Israel was.
Right, with our help. I said we. Israel is leading them, but we're supporting them.
Well, you're breaking news here because the U.S. government last night denied, the National Security Council spokesman Alex Pfeiffer denied on behalf of Trump that we were acting on Israel's behalf in any offensive capacity.
No, we're not bombing them. Israel's bombing them.
You just said we were.
We are supporting Israel.
High stakes. You're a senator. If you're saying the United States government is at war with Iran right now, people are listening.
Okay.
To think that mentality is making decisions about what happens in America, and that mentality is at large throughout the political world. So that's it for the public part of the dot connector. If you want to see the rest of it, go to iconic.com after 5 p.m. UK every Thursday. And I'm going to be starting the next section by looking at another aspect of that Cruz interview, and it relates to religion. Whoa, terrifying to see what is driving these people and why. See you later. Bye.